Never we're ready.
Hello and welcome to the Third and Long podcast on this Thursday night. With the Pro Bowl starting in less than 5 hours, boys, how are we? As always, I am with the podcast OG to my left, Oliver Butler Henderson, and below us, the teacher extraordinaire himself, Mr. Philip Perrins. I'll start with you, Mr. Perrins. How are you?
I've had parents' evening today. So on top of professionally talking for a living, I then just talk 4 hours straight to like a load of parents. So I'm a little bit frazzled at the moment. I have asked you previously to go easy on me. With the question, don't make me think too much. There's a few things obviously like we're going to discuss, and I am prepared for. But yeah, I'm just very frazzled, gents. And I actually, for the first time in a long time. I'm actually looking forward to like watching the Pro Bowl because I have no expectations going into it.
What about you, Mr.
I thought we just see the ghost of parents.
Oh, bite me.
After that stunning joke, how are you, Mr. Butler Henderson?
Oh, I'm looking forward to a weekend. I need a weekend. I'm knackered, tired, but yeah, I'm good. It's been a good week-ish, I think. We're rolling into the weekend. It's just a bit disappointed. We've got, 10 days left and then the NFL season's over.
But then the USFXL.
USFXL, though. I mean, the NFL doesn't really end. It's an always evolving story, doesn't it? Something pops up every week. But yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, and even when teams are out of the playoffs and not have anything to play for, there's still lots of things that we'll get into tonight that's, are pretty big in the grand scheme of things.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think you made it pretty clear on the chat what you want to talk about tonight, Phil.
Well, I'm not going to talk about that because I'm actually going to wait for a little bit more kind of like confirmation. But like, there's been a lot of like coaching hires that we're obviously going to get into that are actually quite substantially big. But we'll get to that when we get to that. But yeah.
Oh yes. Right. Let's do it. Let's get the Sunday games over and done with. And I'm going to start with this, saying the experienced teams of knowing how to get to Super Bowls showed up and showed how to do it, get it done in one way or another. We'll talk about the Bills-Chiefs game because I think there's more than just a game to talk about on that one. But let's start with the Commanders and the Eagles. The Commanders didn't lose the game because of Jaden Daniels. The game was lost because of their inapt ability to keep hold of the ball on several different players. But I'm going to go with Mr. P first because he put his hand up much even further.
Yeah. And I think I said this in the chat. I think we unanimously like agreed as we're watching it together. The Commanders massively overstretched what we thought they were going to do this year. Like we thought they were like in a rebuilding year, almost like how the Texans were last year, where they massively overdid like any expectations that any fan group or any predictor thought going into the season. The Commanders had a great year because they weren't expected to do anything. They got to the playoffs. They got to the NFC game. Like really huge. And I think because the Eagles have been successful in the last couple of years, they have got to a Super Bowl. They have played in quite a few NFC Championship games now. I think it was one game too far, if that makes sense. When you watch the tape back, I mean, I wanted the Commanders to win because I would like to see somebody else played in the Super Bowl. But when you said that experience means quite a lot, and the Eagles have won a Super Bowl, in modern times, I guess. but they have been to a Super Bowl quite a few times. You know, they played the Chiefs twice now. Like they have won the Super Bowl. They've beaten Tom Brady. So like, you know, that organization is going in the right way in terms of that consistency. Washington, one game too far. And
Agreed.
I hope that they do a Detroit Lions, as in they come back probably even stronger next year, as opposed to that was our high point. No, actually, next year's now our rebuilding year. We've kind of like, you know, this is where we're going to rebuild now.
Like
And
Houston.
but then Houston still got to the playoffs and still got, you know, to the divisional round.
Yeah.
because they had a division with nobody in it. But
No, but like we can argue with the semantics of that. But you know, they weren't as say like dominant as they were like the previous year.
yeah,
But they still got through to the playoffs again. So they're hitting that consistency. Washington, you know, they are in a very, very difficult division. And they massively overdid what any expectations were going to be. You know, well, I mean, how many of us said going into the season that the Commies were, you know, going to get to the NFC Championship game? I mean, if we listen back to our season predictions, I don't think any of us even mentioned them, let alone predicted them.
I mean, they were ridiculously good this season. They have been ridiculously good.
Yes.
Jaden Daniels is obviously going to be Offensive Rookie of the Year. Head over to our Twitter and vote for our MVP, Offensive Defensive Players of the Year. And the polls we got at the moment will announce the awards next Thursday. So I had to get that in there. But yeah, I mean, Jaden Daniels was superb. And as I said, Jaden Daniels wasn't the reason they lost this game.
Yeah.
There was kickoff for fumble. There was 2 fumbles by experienced players. I think it was Brown who'd been playing. He had a couple of outstanding games in the playoffs for them and was their playoff guy. There was mistakes that cost them. And the Eagles just knowed how to pounce and when to win games.
Yeah.
Do you think it was mistakes, or do you think they just got out physicaled by the Eagles defense and bullied by the
Can it not be
Eagles
both?
defense?
Because
Yeah, it could be both.
because like when you said, and this is just piggybacking what you said, Hendo, and I think you'll agree with me as well, baby. You can be an experienced player in the league. I mean, it's different. I mean, the league is ridiculously hard anyway. You can be an experienced player in the league, but also be inexperienced in a successful team.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you
Saquon.
could be knocking around the team. Like, you know, the Commanders have sucked for your lifetime, baby. Like, you know, in the grand scheme of things, I mean, they last won the Super Bowl in the early 90s. Like, you know, they've sucked for 20 odd years under Schneider. You know, they've obviously got like a new ownership now and they're going in the right direction. But, you know, the Commies have sucked for so long. Their last successful kind of season was probably with Kirk Cousins or RG3. Like, and that's over a decade ago. They've been the laughing stock of the league. So even if you've got like experienced players, just because they played a long time, doesn't mean they know how to win. And that's the biggest thing, again, like the Eagles and like the Chiefs, knowing when to win and how to win is so important in the playoffs. Like playoff ball is so different to regular season ball.
I just think that to a point, the Eagles just bullied the Commanders. Like Saquon was just knocking people over, running past people, and then when the defense came in, I mean, was it 5 turnovers?
Yeah. Such a good defense. Like
a couple of them was, in my opinions, good defense as opposed to bad offense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was outstanding defensive plays. The Eagles' defense is quietly very underrated. I mean, there are 2 rookie quarterbacks in Cooper DeJean and Mitchell are outstanding. I think they're going to be some of the best corners in the league, undoubtedly. But one thing that really does surprise me, I've seen a lot this season, is ball. Yes, the players are punching the ball out and they're getting more on it that way, but ball security is so bad. When you're taught playing football, you are 3 points. Ball to the chest, in your bicep and in your lower forearm, and it's almost impossible to punch it out. I see the running backs, so their balls out here, they're like literally gap in between them and their body, and it's like you're gonna lose the ball unless you've got literally super glue touched to your hands. Phil.
Yeah, and just piggybacking onto that as well. And they mentioned it in the divisional rounds, like in the snow-based games, like the ones that was like in the northeast. The elite running backs, not necessarily like other positions, but the elite running backs wear sleeves, like those half sleeves, because obviously you've got ball security, but then also it stops and what it helps with the grip and the friction, so that it kind of like limits, like if it's raining or cold weather ball, it limits how slippery it could actually get. Because I mean, we played. Did you ever play like in bad weather, Hendo? Like in terms of like rain or snow or whatever?
We live in the UK, mate. In the
no, but like I'm taking like uni ball is typically played in the autumn and the winter, whilst like adult ball, like senior ball, sorry, is like a summer sport over here for our American listeners. So like when we would play like uni ball and we're playing like Birmingham in December, and it's like cold as anything and it's wet. Like I remember once we played NTU and it threw it down with rain, and like the ball slipping at the pitch looked like a quagmire at the end of it, and like there was like ridiculous amount of like turnovers because of just like the rain. And I think we take for granted sometimes how like the football is like, it's like a weapon in of itself, because we talk about ball security, but like the weather can make it 10 times harder. And again, like just having like basic equipment, 'cause I'm pretty sure Saquon wears half sleeves, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. Do you know who else wears other half sleeves? Let me think. Derek Henry, Christian McCaffrey. Like these are all players that wear like sleeves. So again, the ball security is huge, and these are like professional athletes. These aren't just like me and you, Hendo, that like played it because we love the jolly on a weekend. Like these are like the elite superstars. They get trained every single day on how to hold the ball properly.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a game we had down at Jurassic Coast, so Exeter area.
Yeah.
And baking hot day, really, really hot day. And we knew there was going to be some heavy showers, and we got halfway through the third quarter and literally the heavens opened. I think we had like a foot of rain in like an hour.
Yeah.
And trying to hold the ball. I mean, we're hot and sweaty anyway, so the rain was lush and all that, but the ball came, you could literally, really easy to grab, like literally grabbing a beach ball, and then it came from grabbing like a golf ball hitting you 100 mile an hour. It just literally slipped straight through your hand.
And then with that particular kind of like weather, it limits like your playbook, because you go from like being able to pass the ball to, well, the rain will like alter like how I'm not going to do any passing plays because of the rain. So then you have to do handoffs, which limits what you can do offensively, and then it also limits like the ball security as well. So it can take your playbook from like 20, or let's say like 40 offensive plays, takes 20 out because you can't throw the ball, because you're running it. It takes another 10 out of it because it's easy to read, and then you're relying even more on giving it to your fullback, whoever's got the best hands consistently, because of ball security. So I think ultimately big game inexperience let the Commanders down.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's
and also like the Eagles beat the living daylights out of them, as you think they would, because they are divisional rivals. They, in theory, they do hate each other. Even though I never really thought that between the Eagles and the Commies. I always thought Eagles hated every other team other than. I mean, you never hear the rivalry between Washington and Philadelphia. It's like it's either like Philly and New York or Philly and Dallas. You never really hear Philly and Washington.
The big one I think of it when somebody says the NFC East is Philly and Dallas.
Yeah.
Philly, Dallas.
Philly and New York, like I always think as well. Like, I mean, historically, I always feel like Philly always beat the living daylights out of New York.
Dallas and New York don't like each other either.
Yeah.
I just really hope.
Doesn't like Dallas.
Yeah. I really hope.
I don't think anyone likes Dallas. I don't even think Dallas like Dallas.
I really hope Jane Daniels does bounce back, because I think he's a very good quarterback.
Yeah.
And I hope he doesn't go into a second season slump a la CJ Stroud.
I think.
So I mean, like you can say like CJ Stroud. You can add like other quarterbacks, say like historically like RG3. I mean, I know his was like injury, but like he got beaten out of the league. Andrew Luck got beaten out of the league. These are all like second season quarterbacks. Sam Bradford years ago.
So really quickly before we go on to like the Bills Chiefs game, 181 meetings prior to this game. This was the first game that they've met in the NFC Championship. And this is the first time that a team has scored over 50 points in a championship game.
Yeah, imagine
was-
putting a 50 burger in the NFC Championship. That's pretty impressive.
I mean,
mean,
I
when you
mean,
say-
I know the Eagles put on 20, or they got to 23 points on sorry, the Commanders put on 23 points against Philly, but like, it didn't feel like they did. Does that make sense?
No.
Like, yeah, they
Yeah.
scored 3 touchdowns against this Eagles defense, but at no point, other than maybe the coin toss at the beginning of the game, which I still think they lost, it wasn't a contest. Like,
Well, they went
Philly
3-0
came
up.
out, huh?
They went 3-0 up.
Oh yeah, but that's a field goal. That's like that's like
Yeah.
marching it down 60 yards and then kicking it because you couldn't make it.
They
Like,
went
it didn't really
18
feel like a
plays.
contest.
They went 18 plays for that first goal, for that first field goal.
Yeah.
And then literally they kicked it off. I can't remember the kick return was, went to the 40. And it's literally, there you go, Saquon. And next thing you know, it's a touchdown.
Touchdown, yeah.
You know, it's ridiculous. Okay. So we know the Eagles are back in the Super Bowl since the first time since Super Bowl 57, 2 years ago now, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
2000.
It's 2 years
2 years
ago.
ago.
It's 59
2
this
years
year.
ago. Who they're going to be playing against the Kansas City Chiefs. So it's going to be a rematch Super Bowl 57. I know we've got an awful lot to say about this. So let's start with Baby Hope.
So, I've seen a lot of talk this week on social media about the refs. And do I think the Xavier Worthy's catch should have been ruled catch? No. Do I think Josh Allen made his ground on that 4th and 1? Yes. However, in clutch plays, the Bills didn't perform.
Agreed.
The Bills had chances to win this game. They did. They were up going into the 4th quarter. Dalton Kincaid could have caught that pass. It would have been an incredible catch, but he got a hand on it. Plays faltered in big moments for the Bills. So although maybe the refs did give a helping hand to the Chiefs, whether they did or not, I'm not going to say personally. But I do think that in the clutch moments, the clutch players for the Bills didn't perform.
Agreed.
That's
I
my
completely
take.
agree. I 130% agree on that. The Chiefs had 3 minutes 33 to get that ball down the clock. This is what Bills had 3 minutes 33 to get down the clock. This is what Chiefs do. Steve Spagnuolo is an excellent, probably if not the best defensive coordinator in the league.
Robert Saleh.
He wasn't yesterday. He wasn't at this time. And don't be biased. And don't spoil the news.
Anything else you want to stop me from doing while you're on a roll?
Not going to discuss that on air. Yeah, he had Steve Spagnuolo knew it, right? They knew he was going to blitz on 4th down and 3rd down because that's what Steve Spagnuolo does. He blitzes at the big moments, at the big times. They knew this, so they knew that the way the Chiefs lined up, they had the heavier on the more personnel was on the right hand side. If you look at it, so the Bills had majority of their pass protection on the same side as where all the rushers were. But Steve Spagnuolo rushed a cornerback from deep.
Yeah, they played the weak side cornerback.
Because they knew that side was going to be the weaker. And the Bills had the chance to, look, this man, watch him. They didn't adjust. They didn't move things around. And is this on Sean McDermott not coaching up? Is it on the offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, who sits up in the sky to watch? Or is this on Josh Allen? Mr. P?
I mean, I'm guessing, like, you could probably call it on not being able to, like, call an audible. Maybe Josh Allen didn't see it. Maybe his offensive lineman didn't see it. You know, I was going to actually, like, respectfully disagree with you. Yes, that the Bills had chances to win, like, the game, but we cannot ignore the decisions that went against them that ultimately cost them the game. Like, do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah. Carry on. No, go for it.
So, I mean, is Josh Allen good enough to beat the Chiefs? Yes. Is Josh Allen good enough to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs? No, it seems. Because he beat him in the regular season. Has he beaten him in the playoffs before?
No, I think he's 0-4.
He's 0-4 now.
And there's only, let me just think. There's only 2 players that have beaten Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Tom Brady in the Super Bowl and in the AFC Championship years ago.
Joe Burrow.
And
Joe
Joe Burrow. Okay.
Yeah.
So I really, part of me really wanted the Bills to do it because I don't want to see the Chiefs. But I also really like Josh Allen as a player. And I just think regular season Josh Allen, amazing player. Postseason Josh Allen, are we looking at like Indianapolis Colts, Peyton Manning, Miami Dolphins, Dan Marino, great during the regular season where there's not that much pressure on them. But
Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson.
Baltimore Ravens, yeah, okay, all right then. We'll throw that in as well, just in case Shane's listening.
Well, Shane's not here to defend him.
I mean, so we can argue those those things. But going back onto like my original point, sorry, because I don't want to get too sidetracked on this. I do think it's been interesting, like in like the NFL news on social media, just even talked openly as well, for like NFL journalists about the script of like the Kansas City Chiefs, because this isn't just like just this one game. This has been like a recurring theme for a while now, where it seems to be the Chiefs have gotten the rub of the green like way too much. And we can argue like the big teams always get the big calls, I guess, but even things went against the Patriots when they were like riding high. Things went against trying to think in recent time who were dominant. The Denver Broncos under Peyton Manning, but it just seems that everything that actually matters seems to go in the Chiefs' favor. So we can talk about fine margins as much as we want, but there were 3 huge calls that the referees shafted the Bills on.
What's the third one?
Was it 3? Hold on. That. Oh yeah, you might be right. Sorry. 2 huge calls that ultimately decided that game regardless, because it was only a 3-score game, a 3-point game that decided it. We're not talking like a blowout. We're not talking Washington, Philadelphia. We're talking a field goal. And
Tyler Bass did miss 2 field goals.
Yeah, and again, I'm not saying that the Chiefs didn't have opportunities to win. What I am saying is that the decisions that were very, very biased against the Bills were hugely detrimental, and again, borderline either incompetence or collusion. It's one or the other, and neither or makes the NFL officials look great.
I mean, they're still better than PGML.
Have you guys seen?
And I mean, you've seen me on Twitter as well. Like the thing is, like with officials, with the amount of technology that they have on offer, the amount of viewers and video assistant referees that they have. I'm not just talking about like the NFL as well. They have many officials during the game, as well as ones on like video, replays and things like that. I will die on this hill of, in things like this, it's either incompetence or collusion. It's one or the other, and neither of them make them look good.
Very quickly before Mr. Baby Hope goes on, the Xavier Worthy one isn't excusable. Sorry, I should say that was not a catch the ball. You could clearly see the ball. Yeah, I get the Josh Allen first down edge because it is literally fine margins. It's one of those ones going, okay, but that is where they brought the chip in.
Yeah.
They've got the chip. They have so many video cameras on that field at all times that it's impossible to get those things wrong. Like, again, we have goal line technology in the Premier League. I mean, with the one exception that happened a couple of years ago with I think it was
Village United. Villa Sheffield United.
No, it was with the Aston Villa one where it went over the line. And
Villa Sheffield United.
Sheffield
Literally,
United, sorry, yeah.
literally
So
like the first game back from COVID.
Yeah, with the exception of that, it's ridiculously on point. And we have like automated offsides now, like in the Champions League. So like, you know, we have this technology where these problems, these issues shouldn't be an issue. It should be very routinely done. Now you have the chain crew, you have officials, you have chips in the ball, you have videos on the field from every possible angle. You have a sky cam. Okay, how is this still wrong when everything that's in your favor is there to help and support you? Again, with like the Xavier Woods catch, like Xavier Woods,
Xavier Worthy.
2 people all together.
Xavier Worthy catch. That, I mean, we can see that at home. That clip went viral on social media. You know, to like the idiots that are watching from home. The refs have more angles. The refs can see it over and over. The stadium audience could see it on the big jumbotron. So again, why are these things going in the opposite directions of where it should be when all the technology is there to make sure things like that don't happen? It should be rudimentary, straightforward. And it's really frustrating that one, I have to watch the Chiefs again, but these particular calls are favouring a team, the same team, over and over and over and over.
Maybe hope.
Have you seen what the CEO of the Chiefs has said about Brady?
No, maybe it's like some form of deflection comment where like, it happened to Brady all the time.
No, he thinks that Brady should be fired from Fox and has asked for Brady to not be involved in any meetings with the Chiefs because he made a comment about how the refs were favouring the Chiefs against the Texans, and that affected the morale of the team.
All right, so I reckon the CEO of the Chiefs also should never go on social media ever. If that's the case. I'm sorry, but like
it wasn't on social media. It wasn't an open letter to the NFL.
No. That's basically what I'm saying. Like, if he's concerned that Tom Brady has said something really mean and factual about his Chiefs, he probably shouldn't look on social media to see what millions of other people have said the same thing as well. Like, was it Schefter that said the same thing today? And Nick Wright had to jump in and say his usual bollocks about, Patrick Mahomes is the great. Wow. And so, like, you've got NFL respected journalists going, this is a bit suspicious, guys.
On his show.
Yeah.
Pat pulled out on his show.
Yeah, because I saw the clip earlier. I was like, but these again, you know, I'm a big fan of Schefter. I really, really like it. I really, really like how he conducts himself. He's one of the few journalists that isn't openly biased. Him and Rappaport, I really like as well.
I like Palacero in there too.
Yeah. And
well.
I mean, you know, and they're very open and neutral, and that's what I love in a sports journalist. When they're actually like, you know, I don't think that's so. The fact that respected people in and around the league are going, this is like a weirdly odd trend that's going on and on and on. And I did notice as well that they said about who was it that said about betting as well? It was a big player that said about, was it? It might have even been Brady that talked about like the betting in Vegas, about like how the officials have to be held accountable because of the amount of like sports betting that goes on, and like many people are losing out on money because of bad refereeing calls or suspicious refereeing calls. Instead of it like
I can't remember who said it.
No, but I don't know why. I don't think it was Brady, but it was somebody in the league that said that today. Yeah. And I went like, because I was reading up my lunch hour, going like, I'll just have a quick look at the news. And I looked at it and I read it, and for the life of me, I forgot who said it. But it made me think like, yeah, absolutely. Like, we forget sometimes that American sports betting is huge, especially in a place like in Vegas, where it is literally, Nevada is just, you know, that particular type of capital in America where you go, actually, people will bet, you know, responsibly, we hope, or irresponsibly, but huge sums of money on games that have then been like you'd be better off betting on who's going to win the Royal Rumble. Like that's that's less biased than the NFL scripting some days. And I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, going like, I'm wearing my tinfoil hat, going, the Chiefs and 3P and all that crap and the Swifties and all that jazz. But it's just genuinely how I felt this season, where particular teams have been favoured in particular calls, and it's made the league less fun. And I've told you guys off air as well, I haven't enjoyed the season as much as previously. It's got not really much to do with the 49ers. Yes, they had a massive impact on my general well-being when watching Sundays. But like a lot of the officiating this year has really dictated how I've enjoyed the league.
Yeah,
I do think they are going to do something major with the officiating in the off season, just for the fact that they need to.
I could see it going full time because these guys are part times.
Yeah,
they need the NFL and Goodell need to be seen to be doing something. I think.
Yeah,
agreed.
I think what they'll probably do is not go fully back to making penalties reviewable, because that didn't work. They tried that and it didn't work with the pass interference thing. But I think they'll go back towards that.
Yeah.
Whether it's
what? So where they can go, right, okay, not where they can throw a challenge flag, but go, look, can you look at this? Because we've seen something that goes on it, and then go, right, okay, throw a challenge, you're going to get it turned.
Maybe say New York, maybe just make it easier to pick up flags, and New York can get involved and say, no, you've got that wrong.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's where it's got to go down. Because we've seen New York turn decision around like that.
Yeah.
They've got 9 times out of 10, they've got either 25 seconds or 40 seconds between the plays, depending if it's in or out of bounds and what the play is. We can see
as well, like, I mean,
you have instant replays now.
Yeah. You have instant replays that are literally there. I mean, they've all got services on the side of the field. So it's not even like it's one monitor and 100 guys are trying to look around it. Every team and multiple coaches on that sideline, and even analysts on that sideline, have the Surface Pros that literally play the playback almost as soon as it happens.
Yeah.
So, you know, and it just adds on to the fact that there's more eyes, so there's more of a critical viewpoint. So whether or not it is allowing, you know, more making the rest go full time and actually giving them full time training, so it's not just like a weekend DOS outside the house away, you know, so they can just do whatever they want for the weekend. And you know, and I don't really know, like maybe have more automated calls.
Yeah.
Like as opposed to like leaving up to, you know, human error, but then you also have to like make sure that that is moderated and like there is some form of quality control in that as well. But I mean, I think this is probably like the biggest thing that Goodell, and you know, instead of Goodell like making more international games and talking about like extra games in the season, I think you need to make the product that you have now more sustainable, because yes, the league is making ridiculous amount of money. Yes, Goodell's job is safe in the league because he is making 32 owners a terrifyingly amount of money, more money they could possibly ever dream of. Every single season the NFL revenue goes up.
Yeah,
but I think for quality control, he really needs to actually sort out his officiating, because I think, like what we see with our Premier League and just any sport with bad officiating, it drives people away. Fans will tolerate a bad season. Fans will tolerate paying $120, you know, dollars a year for $120 per NFL jersey. They'll tolerate price hikes in tickets, but what they won't tolerate is bad officiating, because they won't see it as fair. And when the audience knows that it's not fair, it's not an even playing field, that drives away audiences. And you know, you don't want teams on TV at the beginning of the season or even the middle of the season with half empty stadiums, because that does not look good.
No. Right, let's roll on to something else.
This is the news in 60.
Yeah, so the NFL coaching carousel is in full swing, with the Las Vegas bringing in 73-year-old Pete Carroll as their new head coach. He's going to be 74 when the season kicks off, on a 3-year deal with a chance to become for a 4th year. Just 24 hours after declining the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive coordinator Liam Cohen has accepted the Jags head coaching position. Meanwhile, in Dallas, they are promoting offensive coordinator by Brian Strottenheim, I think that is pronounced, to be their new head coach following the departure of Mike McCarthy. Despite the playoff loss, the Buffalo Bills are keeping offensive coordinator Joe Brady. which will be good for Josh Allen. On the defensive side of the ball, Robert Saleh is returning to the Bay, as he is going to be the 49ers' new defensive coordinator. With the former 49ers defensive coordinator, get the words right, Steve Wilks is going to be the new defensive coordinator in New York on the Green Bay Men. New York Texans have parted company with offensive coordinator Bobby Slowik. It's come out that he has had a few disagreements with CJ Stroud over the last year or so. Ooh. That is all we've got in the news this week. Gentlemen, how are we all on these? Oh, go on, Baby Hope. You just stuck it up first.
So, I want to talk about this Jags thing. I feel like Jacksonville is the only franchise where this could happen. So,
oh God,
Liam Cohen tells the Jags he doesn't want to have the job because he doesn't want to work with Trent Baalke. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then he goes back to Tampa Bay, and Tampa offer him a contract which would make him the highest paid offensive coordinator in the league.
I think it would make him higher than half of the head coaches as well.
But I believe the terms of the contract was he couldn't take a head coaching interview for the next 2 years.
He also messaged Baker Mayfield saying he's staying.
Yeah.
Oh,
in that time, the Jags then sacked Trent Baalke about, well, some might say years, but about a few weeks too late, and then try and get Liam Cohen to reconsider. He then does that, but rather than telling the Bucs that, just goes totally silent on them, just radio silence, and then the Bucs find out he's the Jags head coach with the rest of the world.
Wow.
That's a great storyline.
Wow. Surely there's got to be some comeback on this one, because there's got to be some kind of professional courtesy gone in that's been completely broken, and some kind of
apparently all they knew is that at one point Liam Cohen mentioned to Todd Bowles that he's interested in the Jags job. That's all the Bucs knew. Obviously, they knew that he had the first interview, and they knew he declined the second interview. And then after that, the next they heard was he got the job.
Mr. P.
I only because I know we had a rant about Trent Baalke when he got sacked. I still believe off the back of that Jacksonville is still not an enticing job to have, because you take the Trent Baalke situation out of it. Toxic man, toxic GM, horrible track record, not a great person to work under. However, Shad Khan, who owns the Jacksonville Jaguars, the multi-billionaire now. I don't know how he made his billions. I probably should have thought about this prior to it. But in terms of his investment in sports and entertainment, the Khans are bad judges of character. The Jags have sucked for a long period of time, a long sustainable period of time as well. They'll have the peaks and valleys, like with Blake Bortles and when Trevor Lawrence won that one, playoff game. Amazing stuff. But they're bad judges of character. And whoever they're going to bring in to be the next general manager, I wouldn't trust, because I don't think the Khans are good sports managers. I mean, look how they ran Fulham for years. Look how they've ran Jacksonville and just allowed Trent Baalke complete autonomy, even though they knew what he did.
They still own Fulham, don't they?
Yeah, I'm saying, they ran Fulham poor for many, many years, to the point where the both Khans that were in on it, they then hired an actual chairman and CEO to run the club, and that's why they've been a successful, stable Premier League club. But they were one of the yo-yo clubs where they got promoted. They spent 100 million. They spent 100 million in one summer, and then they went down again. And they was it's just really, really poor management. And then obviously you talk about their wrestling promotion at AEW, which is just tanking money. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, which are an absolute joke. So even though they've hired their new head coach, I still would have personally stayed in Tampa. Yes, like highest paid, offensive coordinator, one of the highest paid coaches in the league, can't apply for a head coach job for 2 years, whatever the consequence, whatever the terms are. Like Tampa are a very, very good team with a very, very stable model at the moment.
Yeah.
They've got their quarterback locked down for the next couple of years. Like they've had Tom, they had Tom Brady. They thought they might be in a transition. Baker has taken the ball and literally ran with it. There was a surprise team, I guess, throughout the year. They've become likable. Baker's, one of the top quarterbacks in the league. I would have stayed. I don't think the situation in Jacksonville is going to be good. It could be like a situation with like Robert Saleh leaving San Francisco and going to the Jets, and then realizing he's coaching the Jets. Like I think that could be. Did anybody else feel the same? Like I actually think he would be better off staying in Tampa as an assistant head. Sorry, as an OC.
No, I get that. I'm just wondering because obviously, are we going to get the Jacksonville Jaguars GM? That was the GM in the draft day film. And is he going to make?
They're going to get Kevin Costner.
No, I think you're talking about the Jags GM.
Oh, the Jags GM.
I was like, that'd be so sick because like Yellowstone's finished and Kevin Costner needs a new job. So like maybe they could get Kevin Costner. And maybe they could get their quarterback because Tom Welling just got recently arrested and Jacksonville like to play criminals, so they could probably get their new quarterback down.
Are you talking about the guy that trades the 2 second-round picks to the Browns? No, that trades the 5th-round pick for the 2 second-round picks, and then Sonny Weaver turns it and trades with the Seahawks.
Yeah. So he traded all the first-round picks to get
a rookie or something.
Yeah.
The young guy down in Jacksonville or whatever. That's like, why did you pass on Callahan?
Yeah.
As if he's going to tell him.
Yeah.
I think he's a bust. Yeah, I get that. It's bizarre. I don't get it. I mean, obviously, the reason a lot of head coaches took, or the prospective head coaches turned it down, was Trent Baalke's issue. So it makes sense. They're going, yeah, I'll take it. But was he their first choice? Is the question.
I think he was their first choice.
You think?
I think Liam Cohen was their first choice. Yes. I think actually Ben Johnson was their first choice, but he was never going to go there.
Ben Johnson was everyone's first choice.
Yeah, exactly. But I think after that, Liam Cohen was their first choice, and if reports are believed, if Cohen turned them down, they were going to go for Robert Saleh.
Yeah, I had that as well. Like the 49. I mean, it was like almost like a done deal that Saleh would return to the 49ers, but they were still going through the process of. Actually, maybe did you find that like really, really weird? Like, other than it being like literally written down and signed and dealed, like they were still waiting for him to have an interview with Jacksonville. I thought that was a weird situation.
Well,
because like if you,
I believe that it was, I will come back if I don't get a head coaching job.
I'm just letting you talk about Robert Saleh, by the way. I'm just going to let you delve it out.
I don't want to talk about it too much because, like, I mean, he's just taken the job. He's got quite a lot of work to do on that defense. We've got a lot of aging stars. We've got a lot of players that are going to be out of contract that we're either going to need to re-sign or move on or look to get someone else in free agency. He's got a lot of work. Like, this isn't just like a shoe-in that we've hired him and everything's going to go back to normal again. He has got a lot more work to do than I think people realize on the surface level.
Number one is re-sign Dre Greenlaw.
Yeah, Greenlaw. What are you going to do with Hufanga? What are you going to do about like replacing Javarius Ward? What are you going to do about defensive tackles? What are you going to do about getting the best out of Bosa? Like, who are you going to think about trying to pick up in the draft as well as free? Like, there's quite a lot.
Yeah,
he's going to have to look at.
Yeah, but I saw this on Twitter today actually about Dre Greenlaw. It's like Shanahan wants him, Saleh wants him. He wants to stay. I think it'll probably be a 1-year prove-it deal with incentives.
Yeah, with an because I think the best thing about Greenlaw, and I think what was very much highlighted this season, he does all the dirty work so that Fred Warner can be the superstar.
Yeah.
So like when I said before, like how Fred Warner literally throws himself around like the field and how he's probably pound for pound the best middle linebacker in the league at this present time. He is able to do that because Greenlaw literally does the dirty work.
Yeah.
Greenlaw literally gone.
I feel like Greenlaw and him almost have a quarterback and wide receiver connection. They know what the other one's going to do.
Yeah, it's like I mean, it's the ultimate partnership, isn't it? It's like Batman and Robin, or like Captain America and Bucky. Like they know exactly what the other one is doing because they are just so in sync. So
Yeah.
one doesn't play well without the other. Like they'll be good, and they'll be solid players. But if you're looking for like that elite middle linebacker core, you need both of them healthy and firing on all bases.
Completely. Right.
So can we talk about the Raiders now?
I was about to say you're the closet Raiders coach, fan.
So I'm actually quite really impressed that they were able to pull off Pete Carroll, because I thought he was done. Like I genuinely thought his name would be like bopped around every time like there was the coaching kind of like the coaching window for like people hiring and looking and things like that. I thought he was done. I thought he was going to like maybe pick up like a college job like Belichick, or just like maybe even transition into TV. But the Brandy Love lookalike managed to find himself a home in Vegas. You're right, Hendo. Hendo just acknowledged that he knows who Brandy Love is, just to let our listeners know. You'll never not see it now. You'll never not see it. So I read a comment that Mark Davis said earlier on in the week when this became public, and he said like it was the reason why he brought in Tom Brady, and it kind of like a weird backhanded compliment to saying, I'm so glad we got Pete Carroll, because his dad, Al Davis, was a football man out and out. Like he wasn't just the owner; he was like Jerry Jones before Jerry Jones. He owned the team. He was the general manager for the team. He even was the coach of the team for some time as well. Okay, before they brought in John Madden back in the 60s and 70s. But like what Al Davis has, his son Mark doesn't, in terms of like that football knowledge. Like he's willing to throw money at things, but he's not the football guy. He brought in Tom Brady to be that football guy, to make those footballing decisions that will impact the team on the field. So Tom Brady was the one that was, in this off season, really going for like and chasing particular coaches and particular people to run the football team. And I think the Pete Carroll hire, I mean, he's a great coach. It's a Tom Brady hire, but like it's a great get. Like genuinely, I think that's one of the best acquisitions that any team has made. Because I mean, I won't ever say it, to his face, because he managed the Seahawks. But this is a Super Bowl winning coach. Like the Seahawks played in nearly every as I think he hit the playoffs every season that he was there, unless maybe like his last season.
Yeah, I don't think they made it the last season.
Yeah, but like, other than the last season, he's played in the playoffs in every single one of his coaching season when he was in Seattle. He got a ring. He got a ring out of Russell Wilson. He helped create the Legion of Boom. Like he is really good at building team ethos and team mentality. And boy, oh boy, do the Raiders need it. Like they really need it, because they have some great individual pieces. They thought they were going to create something with Antonio Pierce. That hasn't happened. And I really wanted Antonio Pierce to succeed. I think he will succeed. I think he will become a great DC again somewhere. But I think it was like one step too soon, too quickly in the wrong organization. And that's okay to admit. But I think Pete Carroll, give him this offseason, give him the draft. I don't think the Raiders will be up to much next year because of who they're in the division with. But I think they could
Three good teams.
Yeah, I was going to say, so don't be surprised if they finish fourth in the division again. But I think this is a really good get for the Raiders. I really do.
Do we see, or will we hear, Raider Nation? Let's ride.
Oh my God!
No.
Oh, do you know what? That happens on my Madden, my Madden franchise mode quite a lot. Like, no matter like from this season or even last season or previous season, I've always found at some point Russell Wilson ends up on the Raiders. Like I don't know whether like just like my save, I always seem to find that Russell Wilson ends up on the Raiders. It's so weird.
It's weird. Mine is always Patrick Mahomes ends up at the Rams.
Oh.
I I think the Rams, not the Rams, the Raiders, and particularly Mark Davis, is too in love with Shadur Sanders to do anything. I think he will trade up and get him.
Yeah.
Although Titans said they're going to take a generational talent, which obviously
Yeah, but
will tell us.
Shadur Sanders is not a generational talent. In my opinion, he's not even a first round talent.
Yeah.
There is no first round talent in this draft for quarterback wise. Anyway,
Yeah.
but we'll talk about that in a few weeks' time when we do our first mock draft. Yeah, I completely agree with you, Mr. Paynes. This is a very logical, very sensible. Are we talking about the Raiders? They don't do
Yeah.
sensible and logical.
I know. I know.
I mean, they signed
Like,
Gardner Minshew last year. That's not logical.
Yeah, I mean,
I
and to be
mean-
fair, Minshew Mania was running wild for at least half in the pod. But like, I mean, the Raiders have all. I think if you look in the Raid, like if you look like in like an Urban Dictionary and like just like Raiders doing Raiders things, it's always like hiring people with like criminal records, hiring people that have been kicked out of 31 other teams, hiring inexperienced coaches as head coaches, allowing crazy players to do crazy. Like they have a history of doing these weird things, like from Ted Hendricks to Lyle Alzado to Demarcus Russell, like all these crazy things that the Raiders do. This is a sensible hire because I guess Mark Davis has grown up and gone, oh man, I need to actually run this team properly.
Yeah.
I want to win a Super Bowl like my dad did like 3 times and I've won nothing. And, you know, bring in Tom Brady, and Tom Brady is like the ultimate competitor. Like in terms of that league, if he can find an edge, he'll find it and he'll make sure no one else takes that edge. Like,
Good.
and I think this is a very smart footballing decision that could make the empire kind of like start growling again in Vegas.
Do you know what I think Mark Davis needs?
Hair, a girlfriend his own age. I could go on.
I think he needs a
fun.
catchphrase. His dad had just win, baby. He needs to get a catchphrase.
Yeah, maybe his was just please win, please win, just please win.
What was it? Was it that one? Ruby baby.
Who was it? The Raiders? No. Who was knock on wood if you with me? Was that the Raiders?
John Gruden.
Yeah, that was the Raiders, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe Mark Davis could adopt that.
Yeah,
Just in the middle of a press conference. Knock on wood if you're with me.
Yeah.
Definitely. Is Jerry Jones losing his marbles, or has he lost his marbles?
I don't think he ever had his marbles since the 90s, has he?
Mr. P.
We're finding now as he gets older and older and older that he's turning into the end of days version of Al Davis, and Al Davis is a big hero of Jerry Jones. Like he is. Like you listen to Jerry talk about Al Davis, he talks about how much he admired how he ran the Raiders, and now we're seeing that Jerry Jones is turning into the end of days version of Al Davis, who was going crazy and he was just like all over the place. I think we're also kind of like understanding now that how great the Cowboys were under Jimmy Johnson in the 90s, because I think under any other coach they wouldn't have won those 3 Super Bowls because he must have had to put up with so much crap from Jerry that it's actually ridiculous. Like, you know, some of the jobs that were going, you'd think you'd snap your hands off of like coaching the Dallas Cowboys. Like, I mean, if we take away our personal feelings to our personal teams here, the Dallas Cowboys are one of the most recognizable sports teams in the world. I'm not just talking like in the NFL. We're talking the world. It's up there with like Madrid, Manchester United, the Bulls, the Knicks, the Lakers. Like we're talking about that level of worldwide appeal, and yet no one wanted the role because they didn't want to work for the owner/GM. We've already discussed someone that literally didn't want to work at a job at one of the teams because of the owner and the GM. Yeah. So again, culture is a lot of things. If you don't want to go work for a place that you know you're just going to get a load of hell for, and no matter what you do, you're always underachieving because you can't win the Super Bowl out of a team of like, you know, in a league of 32 teams, you're expected to win the Super Bowl every year. You're not the Chiefs. So I just think it's a joke, and I think it's also another joke. Is the Saints still don't have a head coach?
God no.
Didn't I
I
read?
mean, I suppose you didn't get your mate on.
Yeah,
I
well,
read
he's too busy He's too busy phoning other people to see if they want the job.
that they've decided on someone, and I saw a tweet about it this morning, and I can't remember for the life of me who.
Until Fabrizio literally says, "Here we go," I'm not believing it. Until Fabrizio Romano says, "Here we go" on Twitter, I'm not believing the Saints have hired anybody.
Let me see what.
Non-sport, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but like, if you actually started cross-sporting and like started talking about other things, I'd be like, "Oh, yes, Fabrizio."
It's been
Oh,
what?
yeah,
3
that's
weeks
it.
now?
The person who's expected to get the job is Kellen Moore.
Oh yeah. They're gonna have to wait until the Eagles are out of the playoffs, though, aren't they?
Yeah,
Oh God.
Um,
yeah, but they have
Yeah,
this week. They have this week now, don't they?
no,
Until
they're
the
not
end of the
allowed to
week.
hire them until after the Super Bowl. You're not
Yeah.
allowed to use those. You can't do it in those 2 weeks. You could do the number one seeds can be spoken to on their bye week, but this isn't classed as a bye week. This is classed
Yeah.
as preparation week and stuff like that, and make sure everything's ready. So make sure you've got your stuff at your hotel and your bloody
Yeah.
training facilities all sorted. So it's not classed as a bye week, so they can't hire anyone, they can't interview anyone,
Yeah,
which is how it should be for the whole off season,
yeah.
postseason.
Right.
Well done, your team's in the playoffs, right? Until you're out of the playoffs, or in fact, sod it, until the Super Bowl
Yeah.
is, in this case, the 10th of February, you are not allowed to hire anyone.
Yeah.
You're
I-
not allowed,
I-
in
I-
fact, you're not allowed to talk. You're not allowed to talk to anyone, whether in the playoffs or not.
Yeah,
There's
agreed.
the coaching carousel, unless you've sacked him before the end of the season, you shouldn't be allowed to talk to anyone until
No.
the Super Bowl's finished.
I completely and utterly agree with that one. But
Yeah.
hey, it happens week in, week out, year in, year out, in every different sport we talk to.
Yeah, there's always tapping up
up.
just because it, like, it's frowned upon, or it's like, legally you're not allowed to in the league. It still happens. Like, players get tapped up, managers get tapped up, coaches get tapped up. So like, I think somebody said it the other day when I was scrolling through Twitter that even if they enforce something like that, it would still happen, because how are you going to prove that it doesn't happen?
Yeah.
I mean, look at
Completely.
Bolton. They've just hired a new manager. It was announced about an hour before we came on the show.
Woohoo! Who is it? I didn't say yes.
Steven Schumacher.
It's Michael's son.
No.
Ralph's brother, cousin, uncle.
They're no relation to Michael or Ralph or Mick Schumacher.
Hey,
As
Hendo,
far as-
do you
as-
remember?
As far as I'm aware.
Hendo, do you remember
Yes.
when like Bolton were in the Premier League and like had some great players play for them?
Oh,
They had like
JJ
World Cup
Kocher
winners,
and Kevin
African
Nolan.
legends. Like, oh my God, they had like Nicholas Anelka, JJ Kocher,
Campo.
Kevin Nolan. Like,
Nando Hierro.
yeah,
Yuri Djorkaeff, Stelios Giannakopoulos.
Yunus Jaskalainen. Who was your striker that you had? Was it Kevin
Davis.
Davis, man? God,
Who
you
had
was so
one England
great.
call up, and stole a goal from someone. He scored on the line.
He didn't score.
Who was it? No, it wasn't Kevin Davis. Who was it then?
Perrin, you might be interested in this actually. Bolton played Northampton Town the other day, managed by Kevin Nolan.
Super
Yes.
Kevin Nolan, yeah. You've also
Yeah.
signed one of our best young defenders.
And
He is
then
quality.
And then 3 days later, sacked our manager.
But like, honestly, he's a quality player.
To be
But
fair,
we can talk about that offline.
He came on the other day and looked good. Anyways,
He's really good.
back to the egg-shaped ball.
Back to
Six
the other
Nations
sport.
start soon.
Yeah. Friday
Oh,
starts. Tomorrow
Yeah.
starts actually.
Yeah, because I'm going to watch it as well as watch it Uncanny as well on BBC Two.
Yeah. You're gonna. Yeah, you're a Wales fan, aren't you?
I'm not supporting Wales.
No, your dad's a Wales fan when he wants to be.
Right,
Yep. It's convenient for him then.
as it is. I mean, this is why Shane's not on tonight. He's off to see Wales play tomorrow in the Six Nations.
Oh no, he hates he hates rugby. Like, he's a Welsh lad that hates rugby.
Yeah, which means he's not
I was
properly
going to wind
Welsh.
him up, man. Jeez.
Oh yeah.
I thought he was watching TNS in the Europa League, to be honest.
I mean, he's probably watching that actually, yeah, because like they had a really good chance of getting to the playoffs. And then also he also doesn't want to talk about like any Baltimore Ravens things, as in like they suck and all their kicker's questionable.
Yeah, we'll get into the kicker some other time.
Yeah,
I think we'll talk about that
we've
next
got
week. Instead of talking about like the
something,
Super Bowl preview, we'll just talk about like Jason Tucker. It
Justin Tucker.
doesn't matter. It won't matter after he gets fired.
Okay. We've hinted a few times, and we've always joked about having a after dark show. So obviously at the moment we've only got the one show at the moment. So we are going to be launching a specialist show where we, not as a foursome, not as a twosome, but we are going to have specialist guests on where we are going to talk to them about the NFL, anything like that. I did actually tweet Apollo today, Mr. Perrins.
That's exciting. I'd love to talk to him.
Yet to go back. So if you don't know, Gladiators it returned a couple of years ago, and Apollo is one of them. Apollo was Atlanta Falcons tight end, ex-England rugby player and all that.
He's also the only Englishman to be a captain of an NFL team.
Yep, exactly.
Is it bad that I've not watched one episode of the new Gladiators?
Yeah, because you're missing out because it's amazing.
Very bad. We even talked about it in one of my training courses today, mate.
Yeah, I literally talk to my form nearly every day about Gladiator. Like, it'll get brought up, and then we're going, "Oh, I can't wait for Gladiators this week," and then we'll just watch some stuff in form. Like, it's brilliant.
My kids love it. So yeah, we are going to be launching an After Times, where it's just a series of people where we get to speak to them, you know, about the NFL and about their love for NFL and all that. We have got Andy coming on. Will be the first one. He is off to New Orleans at the weekend for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yes,
Get in.
Andy from across the pod is going to the Super Bowl.
He must be balling. Like, he must have like a house like Scrooge McDuck, because the amount of times, like I've seen like he's crossing America like at these big games, and he gets like he's meeting all these like amazing people. I go like, my God, Andy, my God.
Andy, we're incredibly jealous of you, but we are incredibly proud of you at the same time, my friend. I have been in contact with a few more people as well. I've also got a gentleman who coverages all the Patriots stuff. He's got all the draft preview stuff with the Patriots. I've been in contact with a few other people as well. So we have got a few lined up to get to talk to them that we were going to be dropping throughout the off season for at least a few months. But that is for now. As always, you know, we are incredibly proud to be in association with Fantasy Game Day app. And they are obviously going to be running a Super Bowl competition, fantasy, as they always do. You will get £7.50 added back to your account when you use the promo code THIRD on your third deposit. So when you first save your game day team, you will get £7.50.
Your lineup.
Your app.
Your lineup is the word you're looking for.
Yeah, that was it. Fantasy team lineup. Yeah, right. But until now, obviously this podcast will be downloadable tomorrow on your listening devices. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Good night and stay safe all.